Hello. Good morning. If you can all take a seat, it's past 9 right now, 9:03. Let's want to keep it on time, get out on time. Welcome, everybody. Welcome again. Uh, this is this will be, those of you who don't know me, my name is Amit Mitsudi. I'm the current chair of BACWA, Bay Area Clean Water Agency. Those of you are first time here, we will be referring to as BACWA all the time. And I am also the current entertainer for you today. Okay? So, those of you probably don't know me, have seen me in my role for the last 3 years and probably wondering how long he's going to stick it in there and is it permanent. This is supposed to be my last term. And Lorian did ask me, are you changing your job again? I told her, no, this is truly going to be my last term. I'm not going to pull a January 6th on you guys either. And just to make sure, Lorian did throw her socks at me. If you don't know what that means, I would recommend you to read some Harry Potter books, especially book 3 and book 4, where they talk about, we are all the BACWA principals, we're like house elves, okay? Every year we take turn, we work for Lorian, we take our role as executive chairs. After 2 years, we're done. So now, with throwing the socks, this BACWA elf is free, okay? And whether I like it or not, I'm done. Kidding aside, I really look forward to this event every year because I get to see so many of you, my current colleagues, former colleagues, those of you I always see online. And I really encourage you to catch up with each of us and build. If you see new people, build your network. So with that, I have my version. I don't know if you had a chance to look at the agenda. There is right after me, Lorian is going to introduce the year-end review, but I have my own version. So a lot has happened since last year. Okay, Twitter, remember that? That's named X now. I still don't know what to call it when somebody tweets. Do you call it X'd? Then what else? Our favorite red algae, Heterosigma acaceo, right? It became a household name among all our POTWs. It made 2 brief appearances since last we met. Once in summer in Berkeley Marina, and even early this spring, or maybe not even early spring, like in February, March in Lake Mary. But here's the truth you probably don't know. EVMart employees showed up every time, and as soon as we showed up with our trucks and our spray guns, it disappeared the next day. So we are calling ourselves algae busters. We also had kind of an average winter. You probably remember last year, me and Jimmy Dang from Oroloma, we were whining about the weather. This year, believe it or not, we just about had an average winter, although tomorrow it's supposed to rain, apparently. 6-5 inch, that's what I last checked. We'll see. But nothing compared to what we had in Southern Cal. Don't worry, climate is not changing. Another thing, new things. Taylor Swift, right? She also had 2 new albums since we last met. One of them is called Tortured Poet. And it came out just about the same time our nutrient third watershed permit came out. And you know what? I have a perfect name for it. Tortured POTWs. All right. More items. California also approved new regulations for direct potable reuse. The rules are so big, you can actually produce a book about it. Now, anybody wants to use and wants to be encouraged about potable water use, you can throw the book at them. PFAS, PFOA, okay? Now you have a circular designation. It's a hazardous waste now. I know we have already going headaches with this biosolids disposal. Well, I think this is going to turn into migraine now. All right, now the new regs for PFAS and PFOA in drinking the water too. But here's the good thing. RO can remove PFAS. At least we can use the potable water, recycled water. So that's about it. I won't bore you with my list anymore. I will let Lorian cover the more serious stuff. So, okay, let's look at the agenda now, what we have. The first, as our tradition, we'll have our regulators from local agencies and state agencies come up to the, in the panel and talk about the regulatory priorities for their agencies. Basically, what I call it, what they're thinking about for future, also confirming our worst fears, or maybe easing some of our pains and anxieties, whatever the case may be. I recommend you also just to be aware that, they are not our enemies, okay? We are all on the same team. So hold your emotions. And if you cannot really control it, listen to some Taylor Swift tracks outside and then come back. We are all on the same team. We all have the same goal. Remember that. And then we'll take a break. And after the break, we'll have, I know you were looking forward to this, a nutrient panel discussion on the watershed permit. Again, hold back your emotions, be objective. We're all in this together, okay? Everybody has their priorities. We will figure it out. I know we got 10 years to figure it out. There's challenging times, as I think I will quote one of our regulators. This is a permit that if everybody is not comfortable, that's a good place to be. And that's where we are. We will all figure it out. Then we'll have lunch. And then following the lunch, we'll have the Arlene Navrat Award, and we'll also recognize our committees. Then we'll continue our discussion with very hot topics like workforce development panel. I know this has been talked about in many forums, and we'll have distinguished panel there too. We're all looking forward to it, except I will be in the panel too, so I don't know how that's going to turn out. And then we'll finish it up with the regional collaborations on CASA, on the air toxic study, and nature-based solutions for the region. That's about it for the agenda. So in terms of logistics, you will see we have a half an hour coffee break and a networking break in the morning, and then use those and lunch, about a full hour for lunch. So with that, I think we're ready to get more serious. Let's get started. I will ask our Executive Director, Dr. Lorian Fano, for Year in Review. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Amit. I hate following Amit in the morning because I am not as funny as Amit is. But before we get, although the idea of the board being my house elves is gonna keep me chuckling. Okay, excellent. I feel like we have an extraordinarily good crowd today. If this is your first time at a BACWA annual meeting, can you put up your hand? Oh my goodness. Well, welcome. Hopefully we'll put on a good show for you here today. Back in the old days, we used to use the section for BACWA's business meeting, and we also used to do these surveys, and everybody said the business meeting was really boring, so we dropped that. But I still feel like I have to tell you a little bit about what BACWA is up to. Just need to figure out how all this works. That's not going to happen. Okay. There we are. So BACWA's got a strategic plan, and we've identified our mission as to provide an effective regional voice for Clean Water Agency's stewardship of the San Francisco Bay's ecological community and economic resources. We established that mission in 2020. This year, we've been really delving into what it means to be that voice, not just to regulators, but as our audience, but also to our other partners in the One Water Tent, as well as the communities that we serve. So this past year, we, for the first time, held a recycled water workshop whose purpose was to launch a conversation between wastewater and water and regulators about the incentives and barriers and drivers for recycled water. And we're going to be taking the lessons from that workshop to provide more recycled water content in the coming year. We also launched our Value of Wastewater campaign. It's been somewhat of a soft launch, but you're going to be hearing more about it in the next year. This is some material from signage that you're going to be seeing posted around the Bay starting in June at 60 different locations, along with other environmental messaging. What we've been trying to do is meld our what is wastewater, what happens to that water when you flush the toilet or wash the dishes, and meld that with our the communication on pollution prevention that we've been doing for many years now. We also decided to take a more proactive approach to discussing with the public and the media what our approach to nutrient reduction is going to be. So we were in a very reactive mode following the harmful algal bloom in the summer of 2022. But since then, we've had a chance to reflect on what we want that messaging to be, the fact that we are committed to nutrient reduction in a way that maximizes benefits to the communities we serve, but at the same time, considering impacts on ratepayers, we want to be putting that out there, and also just letting the media know that we're a resource for discussing these issues. So what do we do on a regular basis? I was going to breeze through this, but since a lot of you are newbies, I'll take a tiny bit more time. We've got 9 committees and email lists associated with those committees. We're actually going to be likely changing how we deal with our listservs in the next year, but we still welcome any of our members to participate in any of our 9 committees. We put out a monthly newsletter called the BACWA Bulletin. We handle NPDES compliance reporting for our members on the watershed permit, pollution prevention, and other activities that to which we're jointly responsible. We provide opportunities for discussion on key issues via our 10 monthly executive board meetings, our nutrient strategy team meetings, of course, this annual meeting, and our committees. We have, in general, stayed remote in the sense that we offer that option. Many of our committees are starting to offer an in-person option as well. Our executive board meetings are all hybrid as well, and we found that we have a lot more participation from folks who don't have to deal with the commute in order to participate in those. We host a quarterly managers roundtable, which is an opportunity for directors and GMs to discuss issues that are impacting all of our agencies. We provide support for fundraising, so if your agency is putting out a grant proposal, we're happy to write a letter of support to demonstrate the regional benefits of your proposed project, and we provide training. So for example, the BACWA Lab Committee is about to complete the last of 30 training sessions related to new laboratory accreditation standards, or ELAP. Our Recycled Water Committee prepared a 4-part video series for site supervisors, and our Collection System Committee is working with a consultant right now to update guidance, the guidance manual for the Sewer System Management Plan. And we continue to provide support for our 3 projects of special benefit: the Bay Area Biosolids Coalition, Bay Area Chemical Consortium, which does a group procurement for chemicals, and the Bay Area Consortium for Water and Wastewater Education that you're going to hear more about during our afternoon workforce development session. So we've got a grab bag of regulatory issues on which we're engaging either with our regional regulators or statewide in conjunction with CASA. Every 3 times a year, we update our regulatory issues matrix, which you can find on our website and also is linked on our annual meeting page. So on the right here, you can see the list of issues that we provide updates on. So this is a quick cheat sheet if you want to come up to speed quickly on any of these regulatory issues. In terms of collaboration, we provide representation at state and national associations like CASA and NACWA. and on key regional efforts and issues such as BayCan. We're involved in Bay Area scientific investigations. We have representation on the RMP Steering Committee and Technical Review Committee. So several of our reps are in this room right now, so thank you. We provide compliance with the mercury and PCB risk reduction requirement in that permit. We provide funding for the annual Bruce Wolfe Memorial Scholarship through the CASA Education Foundation. And this year we're going to be collaborating with a consultant group on a nutrient treatment workshop that will benefit the David Jenkins Scholarship Endowment. So stay tuned for that later this year. So what's coming up that's new in fiscal year 24-25? So I think I've said the word nutrients only a little bit so far, but obviously that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be looking into compliance with the third nutrient watershed permit. We are also moving forward with establishing a climate change community of practice so that agencies can learn what other agencies are doing in terms of adaptation and collaboration with the cities and counties that they're part of. We're going to be continuing to build a BACWA communications initiative. We are going to be looking forward to providing more opportunities to collaborate with the water agencies in terms of recycled water discussions. There was interest in focusing on RO concentrate management. We're going to be continuing to see what we can do to support workforce development amongst our members and in collaboration with BACWI. And it's been a few years since we've had an active biosolids committee. The Bay Area Biosolids Coalition has largely taken over that role, but that excludes many of our members. And so we're going to look to reboot the BACWA Biosolids Committee that can operate in synergy with BABC. So as always, feel free to contact any members of the BACWA staff. My email is here. Mary Cousins is our regulatory program manager who's Zoom famous from our committee meetings. And Jennifer Diamond is the assistant executive director who made this meeting happen today. So with that, I would like to transition to our regulator priorities session. And Amy Chastain, the San Francisco PUC regulatory program manager, is going to be moderating the session. So I'd like to invite her and all the panelists to come up to the dais now. So I think Greg Nutt is first. I don't think he has a presentation. I will see. We'll see if she's joined soon. Okay, Greg, you do not have slides, right? I do. Okay. I will manage the presentations.
Okay, that's great. Good morning, everyone. Nice to see everyone. And also, I just wanted to take a moment to really thank Lori and Mary and Jennifer. The amount of work that they do every year is absolutely incredible. And speaking from personal experience, the level of professionalism and the quality of work at BACWA continues to increase dramatically, absolutely every year. So we really appreciate everything you guys do. Thank you so much. And I want to welcome you all and also welcome our panelists today. Every year we are incredibly fortunate to have representatives from our Clean Water Act and Clean Air Act regulatory agencies who come and speak to us about their priorities. And I know this session is the reason a lot of you are here today because we do surveys, and you should do your survey at the end of the session. And guys, it's always the most popular. So we really appreciate your time every year, and we appreciate your time for coming. So today we have 4 leaders who are going to be speaking with us. Our first speaker is Greg Nutt, who's with the Bay Area Air Quality Management District. Following Greg, we're going to have Peter Kozelka with US EPA Region 9. And then we'll have Karen Mogus, who's joining us online from the State Water Resources Control Board. And last but not least, we will have our own San Francisco Bay Regional Water Quality Control Board Executive Officer Eileen White. In the interest of time, we're going to ask everyone to speak first, have their presentations, and we'll hold questions until the end. And then you'll have an opportunity to ask a few questions before we break. So I think we're ready to transition to you, Greg. So today we are going to be hearing from Greg, who serves as the Deputy Executive Officer of Science and Policy at the Air District. Greg, this is really impressive. I hope we're going to learn more details about the scope of your work because it's kind of incredible. He oversees the Strategic Rules and Policy Office, the Planning and Climate Protection Division, the Assessment, Inventory, and Modeling Division, the Public Health Office, and the Meteorology and Measurement Division. So the platform is yours, Greg.
Great, thank you. I'm really glad to be sitting up here next to Eileen because I think she's going to get all the hard questions today. You know, I've been tracking with great interest all this discussion on nutrients, and I remember when I first started coming to this meeting years and years ago, it was all about nutrients, all about nutrients, all about nutrients, and then I see that we're talking about $11 billion, and I understand why you've been thinking about it so hard for so long. Thanks for the introduction. I am essentially in charge of the measurement, modeling, policymaking part of the Air District. There are some new deputy executive officers at the Air District. My colleague Viet Tran is here today, and he is in charge of public affairs, and that's trying to get all our communications aligned and build relationships, deepen relationships with folks in the Bay Area. My colleague, Dr. Meredith Bauer, is the deputy executive officer over engineering and compliance. So I will not be able to tell you where your permit is or why it is late. But I will be able to give you a preview of Dr. Bauer's work in trying to get that part of the agency to be more customer responsive, and I'll talk about that a little bit more later. And then recently announced, Arsenio Mataka will be the Deputy Executive Director of Equity and Community Programs, and so he will oversee our environmental justice work and our internal diversity, equity, and inclusion work. So today I want to give you a preview of updating regulatory work. As I mentioned, talk about permit streamlining, and then go over some opportunities for y'all to participate in our processes, have some influence in the processes. So beginning with Rule 1118, as you know, that is our rule to reduce toxic emissions from existing facilities. We have been working on that for a number of years, and it has not gone fast, which may be good for you, but hasn't been good for the folks who have some expectations that that regulation is going to bring some change in the ground. So we are working right now on measures to streamline the implementation of Rule 1118. We recently published a concept paper which Bakwa commented on, so appreciate your engagement so far. The streamlining effort is really about speeding things up, and adding some additional requirements and clarity about risk reduction plans, streamlining the permitting process, and then some additional structure and clarity on the technical dispute resolution. So we will be releasing a draft regulation later this year, and that won't be the final reg. It will kind of be, here's how we're translating these concepts into regulatory language, and you will be able to comment on that, and we look forward to continuing to engage with you on the improvements to Rule 1118. We are working on a white paper on publicly owned treatment works and anaerobic digesters. This has been paused for a while, but I think it's good that we pick this project up now, as I expect you will be doing a lot of capital expenditure planning in order to meet the requirements coming up for the nutrient permit. You may not be familiar with our white paper process. The idea of the white paper is to kind of lay the groundwork for rulemaking or come to a decision point about whether any rulemaking is required. So we will be working with y'all on that. I will ask the engineers to reach out to Lorian to start some early discussions on that topic. So permit backlog, permit streamlining, you're probably aware that at the request of our board of directors, we conducted an external management audit of our permitting program, and the report had multiple findings. The focus of the findings were on timeliness, tracking, resource management, and cost recovery. So with staffing, we've taken some interim steps, and there's some other things in the pipeline. As an interim step, we have hired 4 retirees to help us with the complex applications. We're also looking at our job classifications. I know you all are having a discussion later about work about workforce development, and we're trying to change our classification schedule to make it easier to get fresh graduate engineers out into our program. We're also looking at permit streamlining, and that's probably going to involve some regulatory changes. We permit hundreds of backup generators every year, and we're looking at options to maybe streamline that, maybe move that into a separate regulation and turn it into more of a registration. The trick there will be, of course, protecting community health at the same time. So those are the kind of things we're trying to do to kind of restructure our permitting program and improve efficiency. So this corrective action plan and timeline are going to depend on how things shake out with our strategic plan. Our strategic plan, which I'll talk about in a minute, is really how we're going to structure the prioritization of how we assign resources. This compensation and classification study, which we hope will help us to hire more and better retain our permitting staff. And then the availability of the rule development staff to be able to make these streamlining rules. As you can imagine, the work we've been doing in environmental justice, there's been a lot of demands for additional rulemaking to better protect communities. So that the board will have to weigh these streamlining efforts against the expectations of our community partners. And then our data system is